Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Pro Cycling Manager 2021. We're on career mode, and we're at the half-century mark. It's episode number 50. We're going to go ahead and take a moment, because especially now that we're 50 episodes in, before we do our signing period, and I won't show as much of going through and trying to do the contract stuff, but I am going to show you a bit of my analysis. What do I need? What am I aiming for? How do I want to fill out the team? And especially what I'm thinking right now in the midst of, well, a bit of a financial crisis. Now, at the turn of the month, we stand to lose 35,000. We have 50,000 right now, so we'd be down to 15,000, which means we would need to make 20,000 over the next month just to not go in the red again. That's a lot. So I am going to make another sacrifice. So let's go ahead and start with that. We'll make the sacrifice right now because it's nearly the turn of the month. Most of those finances that are absolutely killing us are from these two guys. We have two very expensive international trainers, and we just cannot afford the both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and release one of our groundbreakers, except the groundbreakers are really not the expensive ones. Well, no, sorry. Let me rephrase that. They are expensive. The finances for all three of them are really bad. But it's the international. The groundbreakers tend to be more effective because that means you have riders that are more rapidly progressing. But we still have quite a few guys that are modern, and when you go over 8, their effectiveness gets worse. So we're kind of in a tricky state here, but let's go ahead and release one. That's going to save us 15,000. Now all of a sudden we're looking at a debt of 20,000 per month, and my oh my, that looks a lot better. I mean, we're already sitting on 2.5 months worth of payments. Of course, we're a couple days away from the first of those months. But when you start adding in a little bit of money along the way, I think we're going to make it to January now at this valuation. So we're not going to have to get rid of anybody else, but we are massively down to just, 16 riders that we could even train at all. And our number of groundbreakers is easily above 16. So we're going to have to start picking and choosing who gets training, who doesn't. And a lot of that's going to come down to, riders that we're letting go. We're going to stop focusing on their training. We're going to stop working on them and just focus on the ones that will be around and the ones that are definitely showing signs of leveling up quite fast. Those who are lagging behind a little bit, we're probably going to let them go. Now, let's get back over to that squad. With finances probably now dealt with for the remainder of this year, and then we'll see if we hit World Tour. I would expect we'll take in a lot more money in terms of winnings going forward. That's going to make a big difference. Okay, here's what we need to look at the moment. I've already done some evaluation stuff for next season. Now, looking in the contract section, right, we can see who's with us, who's expiring, and we talked briefly last time about those that are expiring and what I expect to come from that. But here's the status of things. Okay, existing contracts, meaning riders that will still be with us next season and beyond, $56,400 per month. The offloading, what's coming off the books combined, is $36,800. Now, in terms of the finances, that's what we're bringing in now and next year. It's not changing. We're at 100% evaluation. It will not increase anymore. We've already capped out this sponsor. Of course, the problem we've been having was that we were spending nearly, in terms of staff salaries, as what we were spending on rider salaries. And even though we had more than 20,000 to spare in terms of rider salaries, the combination of that with staff salaries was way too much. Now that we're going to cut that down to 43.5, we're getting into a much closer acceptable range that isn't going to be as bad, and we're going to balance that out a little bit better. So as we dipped into the red and that worrying balance, we're going to be better off long term. We're still looking to lose, but it's not going to be as bad. This arc is going to even out a little bit. I'm spending $93,000. I'm cutting down the staff salaries now to an acceptable level that I think we could probably earn enough winnings month by month to balance out. I think my current setup of spending $93,200 in rider salaries, I could probably just about get away with spending that next season. And especially if we're headed for World Tour, we could probably spend a little bit more. Now, come August 1st, I will have a very, very good idea. And I think I mentioned this in the last episode very briefly, that our top 3 guys right now, and really our top 7 guys, are all returning next season. So this top set are all players we can expect to still be there and only get better from here. An 81, 76, 75 is what we have, meaning we're going to have a 77, which might be enough to get us to World Tour. Might not. Guaranteed we're Continental Pro. No problem. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we can probably qualify for some better races next year than what we do now. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to get World Tour. I think we'll have an idea come August 1st. If we're somehow in the top 6 or 7 at that point, then we've got a shot. If we're already down in the teens, no way. No way. By the time everybody else comes around and signs riders, there's no way that we're going to be able to get what we need with our signing philosophy. We have to develop within. And having our top 3 guys all on minimum salary is badass. But anyway, one notable thing here, Isakov has just leveled up. I don't know what his average was before, but I went back and checked an old video real quick to see what his numbers were. His mountain rating was a 73, so he added 3 points to his mountain rating, which was awesome for us, especially as climbing is our strong suit right now, and it just got stronger as we've got that much better of a support rider in Isakov. Time trialing went +1, hills was +1, his stamina is +1, recovery is +2. So the majority of the points went right into climbing, and man, oh man, he is starting to excel at just 20 years of age. So all 5 of our top riders are 22 or younger, plenty of room for development. We know that Roberto Roman doesn't have a ton of potential, but is progressing. And even though they've got him as a time trialist, we could expect to see some sort of progress elsewhere, but he's more of a, diversity hire. And then of course, Galvez is only 23 and still developing. He's a 73. We have seen progress there. So, and Galvez is one of the ones that I do want to re-sign, and hopefully we can re-sign for still on the cheap, as he's 73 right now. He's one of those 2 guys we want to re-sign and hang on to. Kevin Rivera is one of the ones that I think, after next season, probably going to be gone, as I don't know if he's leveled up even once this season. So he's gone through 8 months with us now, or 7 months with us, and hasn't seen a single level up. And at 26 years of age, you got to figure he is nearly maxed out. But here's the deal. We have $36,000 coming off the books. We could probably get away with spending what we're spending now, but that means we're not going to have the staff that we have now. If we get into a position where we're one of the top Continental Pro teams, we're going to get more World Tour races, meaning we're going to make better money, meaning we could probably afford to have that staff. If we make World Tour, we are guaranteed to be in that better state, and therefore, again, could, without a doubt, afford $36,000. But what do we need? What do we sign? That's the big question. What do we go after? Now, I have my targets, and I have plenty of them. And I could sign probably every single one of them. And I could probably sign every single one of them for $36,000, possibly less. But I'm not going to take every one of them. I'm not going to have this bloated of a squad and be in the same position. I'd rather have a couple really good staff than a couple extra guys on the books that are useless to us, that are domestiques to us. I want the potential riders. I want to be able to pick and choose, and I love prospect, the idea of having a whole lot of guys and seeing who does rapidly develop, who is the next Berlikov and Martin Guerrero and Isakov, who are leveling up rapidly compared to everybody else. And then being able to identify who is your Morenzi and Grego and Gusenyov and Ravenko that our scouts just didn't pick out right, and we have to let go. For that, I mean, we're talking about $10,500 on the books. to find those guys out. Now, if money was no issue, having those 4 extra guys and finding out which ones were these guys and which ones were these guys, I don't mind that so much, especially if we're starting to sign everybody at 70 plus, 71 plus, and we're not signing guys in the mid 60s hoping that they'll be better. That makes that process that much easier. And without going any further, I'll do the rest of this work off camera, is I am now going to look at who's with us next season, eliminating Mugisha on down, except for I know that Galvez, Northern Classics, we're hanging on to him, and I think I'm going to hang on to Faitosa. I'm still not 100% sure that I will. Faitosa has not leveled up a whole lot since he's been here, though he was definitely low 60s. But how many levels has he burnt through to get to that point? So is he already 7 or 8 out of 20 levels? His rate of progression is going to slow down. And already at just a 70, yeah, I don't know. We could actually probably get better than Faitosa. So at this point, Galvez might be the only rider that I re-sign from this group, which is pretty crazy to think of. But, you know, just looking at them, I got 373s and everybody else is 70 and below. So they're our weakest links for the most part already. Now, looking up ahead, you only have 2 guys below a 70. And one of them, Kovalev Sky, you know, he's only 19. Jakub is only 21. They're very young still. Jakub's not leveling up at the rate we would hope. I think Kovalev Sky has picked up at least 1 level, but maybe you would expect more. He's in his first year with us anyway. Okay, now, evaluation time. The evaluation comes down to what our specialties are, what I want to support to continue to be strong in those specialties, and then what are our needs? What area are we struggling in? Right? Early on, we found that we were a punchy team. Now we're finding that we've grown into a climbing team that is fairly good for any type of GC, but not necessarily. I mean, Burlikov is a great climber, not very good time trialist. Martin Guerrero is growing into that guy. He's going to be that guy in the near future, and he'll have Burlikov to be an amazing support climber, really, really helping him out, or, you know, alternating who's leading what race based on profile when we look at the beginning of the calendar. Let's say we do get into World Tour, and Martin Guerrero levels up one more time, gets 77, 78 range, gets that little bit better. You break down the profiles, and let's say the Giro isn't necessarily as climby, which is typical for the Giro, has a couple time trials. Okay, you go, Martin Guerrero's your guy for that one. And then you look at the Tour, and it's massive climbing stage after massive climbing stage after massive climbing stage, and then there's one time trial, and that one time trial has a big climb in the middle of it, and it's not terribly long. And then you go, okay, Burlikov's your guy. And then you look at the Vuelta, and maybe it's a combination. Maybe we take both. Maybe they both do 2 Grand Tours that year. And then you bring support guys in Isakov, Igashin, Yurcevich, blah, 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 you know, on down the line to fill those squads out and mix and match. We clearly have a strength in climbing. So I need to have enough climbing support for some Grand Tours if we're going to potentially qualify, and we'll find that out in a couple days. So I will need an abundance of climbers. Even if we don't make World Tour, we could expect we're going to get it in some bigger races. We're the defending champion for the Tour de Suisse. Hopefully that means we're going to be in the Tour de Suisse next year, regardless. Not necessarily. Game doesn't necessarily think like that. Roberto Roman, as a strong time trialist, will obviously be there for team time trials and provide us some help and support there. But you start breaking it down, and you look at what's here. And we've got a lot of stage racers. We've got some punchers. We've got quite a few punchers, actually, still. But then you get down here quite a ways before we get into sprinters. Kalnins, Sato, I've been hoping that they would develop. They're still in that first year. And I think we might have seen at least one level, and they're both 74 sprint now. but they have not, they have not exploded. They have not taken off. Maybe the next level will suddenly push them up into a 74, and they will. Maybe they'll have a 76, 77 sprint and suddenly take that next step that we have not seen yet. They've certainly overtaken the other guys that were top. It was Pluto. It was Expiring Man, Aribe. It's not anymore. So, I mean, they have leveled up at least some. And again, they're in that first year. So hopefully that next level will push them to a position we haven't been in yet with sprinters. But when you look at that, you got Kalnins, you got Sato, you've got Pluto, Arnautovic, all coming along pretty quick, though. Arnautovic was, 69 overall already, and he's in his second year, so I think he's a bit of a bust, potentially. One more sprinter? Yes, definitely. So one more sprinter, maybe more climbing support. Punchers were pretty good unless we find one strong one, but maybe that's the whole point. Balanced. Balanced is what we need. Classics, still a massive need for us. We have one guy in Galvez who we very much need to re-sign. I would love to find a couple more classics riders. That's the process. That's the idea. I think filling out what our needs are and how to support what our strengths are. Basically, in this case, we're looking at a little of everything. Let's see what we end up with, huh? After looking at the roster, almost all of our weaker riders are modern training. So I'm going to go ahead and release him as well, saving a lot of additional money. But I also think it's time to hire one more trainer. We're going to go for a groundbreaking trainer who's a little more affordable for us with just a national reputation. So we're going to spend $6,000 per month. That is going to overall bring us down to bring us down to $15,000 a month as a deficit. So finances no longer a concern. We will change what we have in terms of trainers so we can get our 16 situated. And then I'm going to proceed on, and we're going to get into our signing period. I've thought about this for a long time, and I decided why not? Why not? I've been over-focused on staying with the team that I have, staying with the sponsor that I have, the YouTube sponsor, which, I mean, the jersey... This jersey doesn't even match our race jersey. And I like the race jersey. I like the custom race jersey. But you know what? It's not that big of a deal. Matrix Power Tag comes in with a, doubling our max money, increasing our current money by a little bit, pushing us another 5,000, potentially higher. And I think with what we just did staff-wise, I think we can afford that little bit more anyway. But most importantly about this Japanese sponsor with Matrix Power Tag is that there's literally 0 important territories. And based on the nature of the playthrough, what we're trying to do for this series of maintaining a world cycling center, not having any important territories is essential. And coming in with a sponsor like this that doesn't care and gives us potential to actually grow financially, I think for the importance, the sanctity of this series, that kind of fits the profile. Let's go ahead and do it. We're going to sign with Matrix Power Tag. However, I am committing to now this being our sponsor for the foreseeable future. That doesn't mean it has to be permanent, but we are not going to just swap year after year after year and pick up new sponsors every year, looking for the best financial opportunity. They're going to be our sponsor, I think, until we essentially max them out. And then if we max them out and the playthrough is still going on, okay. I think at that point, then I can think about moving on to a new sponsor. But for now, we move to a Japanese sponsor, Matrix Power Tag. Isakov's level up happened in the last day or two, and it happened in the middle of the Tour of Utah. He was well out of contention in the GC, but Isakov just picked up a stage victory, mountaintop climb stage victory after getting that level up, that +3 to mountain, really giving him a significant boost where suddenly he's good enough to win. I mean, you do have Haig, you have Poles here. Jorgensen being in second place kind of shows you, okay. Jorgensen, not bad. Definitely not bad. Good young rider. Dang. Andrew Warburton. Holy crap. Anyway, that was a bit of a surprise. Just good enough now to start being a bit more competitive. We saw a couple results. Isakov has won a couple stages before in his career, but I'd say that's probably the biggest of his career thus far. As we haven't really been competing with World Tour, I haven't paid close attention to the moves, but I've got to admit I'm surprised to see that Total Direct Energy is second on the index for next season. That's crazy. They're almost at a full 5 stars. It's clear that, those top 5, it's clear that the top 12 are all going to be above us, because even though I might get somebody to level up along the way, we're not signing any mega names. We don't have money for that. It's against the nature of what we're trying to do here anyway. So coming in at 13th in the index, just above 4 stars, means, oh yeah, we're good. We're legit good. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Now, at the moment, we are the highest rated current Continental Pro side. You can see just how far we've come in that. Quebeca very well could be back into World Tour. Bahrain victorious. Bengol, Arkea Samsic. I mean, there's a lot of good teams here that just haven't signed guys. Bike Exchange, Lotto Soudal. You gotta figure that at least a half dozen have the budget, have the capability of signing some big names. Now, looking down at Conti Pro sides and what they could possibly do, Quebeca Assos, Alpecin Phoenix, Androni. We're looking at teams that have Caja Rural, Turkish Airlines, teams that have fairly large budgets, very capable of signing more riders than what they have. Meaning, looking up and down this list, I'd say all the way down to 27th, we are vulnerable. Will they all move ahead of us? Probably not. I doubt that every single one of these teams between us and 27th are going to move ahead of us. Oh, wait, you can look a little bit further. There's Cofidis, Delco, Iolo. I mean, even Uno X, they don't have a huge budget. I hope that we would stay ahead of Uno X, but, all the way down to 30th is vulnerable, meaning we might not even be near the top. Now, 38 teams will make up Conti Pro. Are we going to be even top Continental Pro? I actually kind of doubt it. I have a feeling we're going to be somewhere down around 25th to 27th when all is said and done. Maybe a little higher, a couple spots higher, 23rd, 24th. But I strongly suspect we're going to drop down minimum 10 places at the end of this signing period, pending another big level up from one of our top 3 guys, not Berlikov as he just did that, but maybe a Martin Guerrero level up, another point or 2 there. It'll give us another little boost. It'll push us a spot or 2 higher in the rankings. But I think by time everybody's signed, you can kiss World Tour for next season goodbye, and we'll see about the season after that. That's going to depend on re-signing Berlikov, I think. And actually, we're going to have quite a few expiring contracts that next season, aren't we? We'll have to watch out for that one. That's going to be worrying. We're going to lose quite a few guys. So are we making World Tour next season? I'm going to say, guessing, most likely not. I'd say that with probably 90% or better certainty. Therefore, I'm going to play we're aiming for Continental Pro. Therefore, we can't spend a ton of money. We're probably looking, though, again, we're 5,000 more. We just cut staff salaries down a little bit further, and we don't necessarily have to spend a lot more for next season. So I think we could easily afford that 36,000. Let's get into the signings. I'll show you the results in a little bit. Squad's going to be shrinking a bit next season, but we're also going to save some money. My objective was about 36,000. I got it down to 27,700. So we're actually going to save even 10,000 more, giving us a little bit more wiggle room going forward. In fact, that's going to give us, with the increase, that's going to give us 15,000 more wiggle room, which means right now, staff-wise, we're break even. If we do end up making it and getting invites to a bunch of World Tour races next season, because again, I think we're still Continental Pro next year, we might be able to improve our staff ever so slightly and not have to worry about losing money. I did go for Abner Gonzalez, who was the best rider we had on our dossiers. It was also the only rider on the dossiers who didn't get a 100% evaluation. 77 overall puncher, 78 hill rating was his claim to fame on that one. He wanted more than 20,000. In fact, I tried to offer 20,000 after already signing our other guys. That would have put us 10,000 over. That may have been enough to push us, as he was a 77, and that could have boosted our index a little bit more, but I don't think it would have been enough. It might have pushed us into top 10 for now, and it would have had us very, very close, but like I said, I don't know if it would have actually been enough. I did try to sign him. I just couldn't afford to pay him what he needed, especially when he wasn't at a 100% evaluation of us. You could see profile-wise, though, we're still very much strong GC team, fairly strong punchy team. Time trial is starting to get pretty dang good. Cobble and sprint are still definite team weaknesses, and we're going from 30 riders down to 24. Faitosa, not re-signing. Gonzalez, yes, re-signing. So we are getting, Galvez is re-signing. So we have Galvez back, and then we have 4 new riders. So 5 contracts that we have signed, and all of them are 72 or better. We have a young 21-year-old sprinter who is still very early in his leveling up process, and he's already a 74 sprint, though terrible resistance. Give him a level or 2. Hopefully he could pick those up quick, add in some top speed and maybe a little more acceleration, and he could be pretty dang effective. Narbutas, 73 mountain, 70 time trial, 72 recovery. Already 68, 67 on the resistance, 19 years of age. 19. Scouting report wise, he came in as a 3.6, but at 19 and already that quality, even if he doesn't level up a ton, we're talking about somebody who is going to be pretty good if he's a 73 already. And at 19, I mean, this is a guy first year, new gen, already like that. Yeah, he's going to be scary good. By the end of next season, you would expect he'll be minimum Martin Guerrero type. Ryabovas, another Lithuanian, 74 overall. He's a time trialist, but look at how well balanced he is. 76 time trial, 72 prologue, 73 mountains, 72 hills, 73 resistance, and 75 recovery. He is a strong GC candidate, and 21 years of age. He's a few levels up already. So he's not going to progress a ton, but he was 5.8 potential and already with a team and improving rapidly. He's not going to slow down much yet, and at 74 overall already, he's going to be pretty dang effective and definitely helpful as a number 2 guy, number 3 guy in Grand Tours, especially if there's a team time trial out there. And the leader coming in, let's see, Karaman Farhat Karhaman, 21-year-old stage racer, 76 mountains, 74 hills, 73 time trial, 69 on the resistance, 72 on the recovery, but at just 21 years of age, very, very well-rounded. Only one weak attribute, Cobble. Just with the group of nations that we have, finding any classics riders is so hard, and that's why Galvez is so important to this team. So re-signing him cheap, massive for us, but we continue to be incredibly weak on the cobbles. I think the sprint has that chance. We have the guys in place that maybe by next year, we're not going to be like GC, but our time trialing, our hills, I'm hoping we can push out a bit further, that 1 or 2 of these guys does have a breakthrough. That's it for next season. It's not an improvement, which is what we expected. The 4 new guys come in among our top guys. Not the cheapest. Karaman and Rybovis did cost us a little bit, 9,000 range each. They're not the cheapest, but at 3-year deals at their age, they're going to be around for a long time, and they're going to help us, hopefully at the World Tour level, before their contract is up. All right, folks, this was not your typical episode, as there was not racing, and I know that most of you love to see the racing, but at the half-century mark, after 50 episodes, I thought, hey, I mean, come on. Some of you, anyway, not everybody, I know, but some of you love these episodes, and I felt at the half-century mark it was deserved. We needed to take time to analyze what we had, what we've got, where we're going, how to do it, get in my head for a little bit and just sort things out. And we've done it. And here we are. Here's the look for next season. And I'll be honest with you, even though we didn't find a classics rider, and that's just a constant issue, even though we weren't able to sign Abner Gonzalez, who was a 77 overall already, he's probably 11 or 12 levels in, which means his rate of leveling up is going to slow drastically. And potential wasn't 5.8 anyway. I think it was a 3.6 potential. So we were getting a guy at the later cycle of leveling up. And while 77 would have been good, 20,000, oh my goodness. I mean, we're getting that out of Karaman and Rybovis. They're just below him. And possibly by the end of this year, one of them, if not both of them, are going to be at a 77 level. So Berlikovs, I find them. I find those Berlikovs out there. And maybe one of these 4 guys is going to be the next Berlikov. Even if they're not, guaranteed we're looking at next Martin Guerreros, because one of those guys is 1 point away. Another's 2 points away, 3 points, 4 points away. They're not far. Isakov was a 72 or a 73 a few days ago. Big level ups happen. I do find them. Hopefully we've found at least 1 more, maybe 2 more in these next 4 guys. That's going to do it for this one. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.